What's the most valuable piece in your Batman collection is a question that I am often asked. Well, let's find out because the Batman episode is finally here. The first of many more to come. And since today marks the 30th anniversary of Batman the Animated Series, we're gonna go big. What's good? I hope y'all have been well since we last met when we talked about X-Men, Wolverine, Jim Lee. Today we are going to be talking about Batman. My original love were the comic books. And I have the Batman comic books, the entire run of volume number 1, starting with Batman issue number 121, cover date February 1959. This issue features the first appearance of Mr. Zero, who would later be renamed Mr. Freeze in 1968's Detective Comics issue number 373. All the way up until Batman issue number 713, cover date October 2011. This would be the final issue in Batman Volume 1. And in between, I have Batman issue number 200, 1968, Batman 300, 1978, 400, 1986, we have a special introduction by Stephen King. 500, 1993. 600, 2002. And 700, 2010. Now that's 52 years of a consecutive run. That's the longest run that I have in my comic book collection or in any collection. I also have the entire run of Batman Volume 2, also known as the New 52, which ran from 2011 until 2016. And then bits and pieces of the current ongoing Volume 3. We are going to set these comic books aside and we'll be adding them into Vu's Vault value at the end of the episode. Here are my most valuable CGC books. Once again, we're kicking it off with Batman 121, CGC 2.0. This is Batman 139, CGC 3.5. The first appearance of Batgirl, Betty Kane. And this is Batman 155, CGC 5.0. The first appearance of the Silver Age Penguin. A 2.0, a 3.5, and a 5.0. They're each separated by 1.5 points apart. I don't want to grow up, I'm a Toys R Us kid. Here are the Toys R Us special replica editions from 1997. The first one is a reprint of Detective Comics issue number 38. The first appearance of Robin, the first Robin, Dick Grayson. Next we have a reprint of Detective Comics issue number 359. The first appearance of Batgirl, Barbara Gordon. And finally, you're probably sick of seeing this cover. It's a reprint of Batman issue number 121. Third time's a charm. The legendary Neal Adams passed away on April 28th of this year. It's been a rough year for Batman creators. Neal Adams passed away in April, George Perez in May, Tim Sale in June, and most recently, Alan Grant in July. The first time I met Neal Adams was in 2014, when he drew the sketch for me of Ra's al Ghul, a character who he co-created. I rocked out the Fu Manchu look in 2014. I was paying homage to the cover art on Detective Comics issue number 1, number 8, and number 18. Actually, I'll explain later why I look like this. The second time I met Neal Adams was in the following year, 2015. When he drew another sketch for me. This time it was of another character who he also co-created, Man-Bat. Plus, I got this trucker hat signed as well. There's a 1970s Batman design illustrated by Neal Adams. Let's see how this hat still fits. It was a great day and a tremendous pleasure to meet him. Here are some of my favorite Neal Adams' most iconic Batman covers during the late 1960s and 1970s. Issue number 200, cover date March 1968. Neal Adams' first work on Batman. Issue 203, 1000 Secrets of the Batcave. Issue 221, A Bat Death for Batman. 222, the Beatles cover. 227, an homage to Detective Comics issue number 31. 232, the first appearance of Ra's al Ghul and Talia al Ghul. 234, the first appearance of the Silver Age Two-Face, my favorite Batman villain. 237, first appearance of the Reaper. Looks like a great cover for Halloween. 241, an iconic Neal Adams cover. He illustrates Batman like an actual bat flying through the air. 244, classic battle against Ra's al Ghul. And finally, issue number 251, cover date September 1973. It's a classic Neal Adams Joker cover, and it is also Neal Adams' final cover on his Batman run. Man-Bat vs. Batman, a 1984 reprint of Detective Comics issues number 400, 402, and 407. Here are my Batman illustrated by Neal Adams hardcover books. Volume 1 from 2003, Volume 2 from 2004, and finally Volume 3 from 2005. Batman is my favorite superhero because although he doesn't have any superpowers, he's still the pinnacle of human achievement. Here I am as Batman in 1999, and here I am again 10 years later in 2009, appearing at multiple Halloween parties. Talk about enjoying your 20s. And finally, most recently in 2021. I've been going on and on about what a big year 1991 was for Spider-Man and for X-Men. Well, what about Batman? As you already know, one of my favorite artists is Arthur Adams. And he cites Michael Golden as being one of his artistic influences. In 1991, Michael Golden illustrated these gorgeous covers for Detective Comics. Here they are. Detective Comics issue number 625, we have a red background. 626, turquoise. Detective Comics issue number 627 marked Batman's 600th appearance in Detective Comics. The cover wasn't illustrated by Michael Golden. However, I do like how the new Detective Comics logo was introduced. I like the prior logo as well. Notice how the V in Detective is shaped like a bat. 628, it's a mixture of brown, orange, pink. 629, we have hot pink with a little bit of gold and yellow. 630, green. 631, blue on top of orange. And 633, purple. Issue number 627 was an homage cover to the original Detective Comics issue number 27. I have a DC Millennium Editions replica from the year 2000 of Detective Comics issue number 27 featuring the first appearance of Batman. In July of this year, Detective Comics issue number 1062 also introduced a brand new logo for 2022. This logo was influenced by the logo on the cover of 1987's Misery by Stephen King, and I think that's so cool. And as mentioned earlier, in 1986, there was a special introduction by Stephen King in Batman issue number 400. The current Batman series also had a recent logo makeover with issue number 125. To me, it looks like the logo update took the new 52 logo from 2011 and realigned the top. I never liked this logo to begin with, and so I didn't buy this cover, which was cover A. I bought the Jim Lee cover, which was cover B, which didn't even display the new logo, and I'm good with that. Superman's logo remained the same over the past few decades. However, Batman has had plenty of logo redesigns over the years. My three favorite Batman logos of all time would have to be this one from 1972, this one from 1987, and finally this one, which was introduced at the tail end of 2002 when Jim Lee's Batman Hush era began. There have also been plenty of DC Comics logo updates throughout the past few decades, and I have to stick with the logo that I grew up with, which is the DC Bullet. Speaking of decades, I have Batman in the 50s, Batman in the 60s, Batman in the 70s, and Batman in the 80s. Here are all of them together. If you compare these two identical covers by Neal Adams, I think it's funny how Batman isn't wearing his utility belt in this one, yet he's wearing his utility belt in this one. I was so fascinated by Batman's utility belt that I went out and got one. Here is my Batman utility belt replica from DC Direct. And here are some of my other DC Direct Batman props and replicas. Here is my DC Direct Bat Signal. Here is my DC Direct Batarang. These aren't DC Direct, however, they are my Batarangs by Jaguar. This is Batman's Batarang. Robin's Batarang, or Robin Rang. And this bad boy has holes in it so that you can place your fingers through it. Remember earlier how I mentioned that Two-Face is my favorite Batman villain? Here is my DC Direct Two-Face coin authentic replica. It sits on this mount so that you can spin it. You can also spin the outside. I like how the clean side here is without blemish and is so pristine. However, the not so clean side is wildly marked up. And if you're ever in the bind and you need to make a decision, you can actually remove the coin from the mount and be like Harvey Dent. And then you can flip it to make a decision.
Heads or tails, I have to know. Heads or tails.
Now let's introduce you to some of the items in my background here. This is my Dark Knight Omega chair by Secret Lab. Check out the Batman logo. And the back pillow that comes with the chair is designed like Batman's armor. This here is my Green Lantern ring. It runs on willpower, something that escapes me from time to time. In brightest day,
In brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power. Green Lantern's light!
this is Thought Bubble Comics and Collectibles. So I don't just collect comic books and action figures, I also collect watches. This here is my Fossil LL1039 Batman Full Throttle watch that I picked up back in 2009. It came in this original box. I like how this Batman logo display, although it's upside down to you, is laid underneath this yellow tinted glass. I also have another Batman watch that is 10 years younger than this one, and I'll share that with you in just a bit. Right over here is my Batman Hush standee that was put out by Upper Deck back in 2004 when they were promoting their Versus System card game. And right behind me is my Silver Age Batman statue inspired by the art of Carmine Infantino. In the opening sequence, DC Showcase displayed the statue very visibly in the comic book store. Mark Wade wants to buy the statue from me.
Awesome. Mark Wade, there's the man.
Nah.
Thanks a lot, man.
Now you saved me a world of heartache with it.
And this guy wants to buy my other Batman statue as well,
right,
too.
I do.
All right.
The way that Batman statue is posing matches quite nicely with my Batman number 9 print that is taped up on the wall right behind me. The cover of Batman issue number 9 was illustrated by Jack Burnley, and the original book came out 80 years ago in 1942. My favorite number is 9 because my birthday is November 9th. However, that's not the reason why I like this cover so much. Let's take a look at Batman issues number 1 through 10. Obviously, issue number 1 is a fan favorite. I like issue number 3, and issues number 4 and 6 are okay. However, issue number 9 really stands out. Batman and Robin are backed up against a wall, posed in a defensive stance, and the darkness that surrounds them is broken up by the bright yellow light that is being shined upon them. Bold logo, great usage of colors, and it doesn't look as goofy as some of the other covers. Everything pops. There have been so many cover recreations and homages done after Batman number 9, such as this one by Alex Ross. Here are some homage covers that I have. Batman 66, issue number 22. Batman Volume 1, issue number 465. Detective Comics, Volume 1, issue number 681. Batman and Robin Adventures, issue number 1. And these are issue number 9s here. All-Star Batman and Robin, The Boy Wonder, issue number 9, illustrated by Jim Lee. Batman Little Gotham, number 9, illustrated by Dustin Nguyen. Toy Fair, issue number 9. This is Batman, The New Adventures, that came out in 1997. A lot of people didn't like this animation style, however, I loved it. Batman Adventures Volume 2, issue number 9. Now this 2002 cover is without Robin. However, I still love the Batman 10-cent adventure illustrated by Dave Johnson. The black and the red gives off the Batman vibes. All of these books are terrific homages to Batman number 9. However, that cover is still the original gangster. Fun fact, 7 issues after Batman issue number 9 came out, Batman number 16 swiped its cover. Next to me is Wizard Magazine issue number 4. After showcasing 3 consecutive Marvel characters with Spider-Man, Ghost Rider, and Wolverine, we finally get our first DC character on a cover, the Cape Crusader, illustrated by Bart Sears. This has a cover date of December 1991. So now we're closing out 1991 and we'll be getting ready to celebrate the 30th anniversary of 1992. After all, it is now 2022. Batman the Animated Series first aired on September 5th, 1992 with its pilot episode The Cat and the Claw Part 1. 6 days after, on September 11th, 1992, the Joker's sidekick girlfriend Harley Quinn made her debut appearance in the episode Joker's Favor.
It is to laugh, huh, Mr. J?
I was absolutely delighted to meet Paul Dini, the co-creator of Harley Quinn, at his book signing on Batman Day 2016. Kevin Conroy, who lends his voice to Batman and Bruce Wayne, is a huge fan favorite and is greatly admired and beloved by everyone. I'm no different. I've been a huge fan of Kevin Conroy since the very beginning. I first met Kevin Conroy and Lauren Lester, who played Robin and Nightwing, on Batman Day 2016 at the Long Beach Comic-Con. It was very fun. There were so many awesome photos taken. We had a great time sharing in a friendly conversation. And I met Kevin Conroy again, most recently at the Los Angeles Comic-Con last December.
There he is, Batman. It's on right there. Yeah. Fill space for you. That's awesome, man.
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman.
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman. I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman.
Kevin Conroy is the definitive Batman. 1991 was when he initially auditioned and successfully landed the role to play Batman, and has been doing so for 30 years now. Did I mention that 1991 was a great year?
I'm Kevin Conroy. I've been playing the voice of Batman since 1991 for 29 years.
Joker's opened every cell in Arkham.
So the advice I would give to the next person who comes along to voice Batman is don't, because I'm still here. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Everybody is familiar with Kevin Conroy lending his voice to Batman. However, did he ever play a live-action Batman? Kingdom Come, written by Mark Waid and illustrated by Alex Ross, was published in 1996. It depicted an aged and disabled Bruce Wayne who relied on a mechanical exoskeleton to get around due to incurring so much physical damage from decades of crime fighting. 2019 was also a really great year for me, as I will later on discuss. One reason was that in 2019, fans were thrilled when Kevin Conroy was casted to play the Kingdom Come inspired Bruce Wayne on the CW's Crisis on Infinite Earths event.
In Batman Beyond, I played an older Bruce Wayne. This Bruce Wayne, he's become so broken and so embittered by life, that he sees no hope for the world. The point of this exoskeleton is to support his body because he's been so beaten and broken that he would not be able to stand up without it. And then they turn it on, and I go, no, I never thought I'd get a chance to do it on camera because I was getting older and older and older. I was sort of aging out of Batman, you know. But luckily, I aged into old Bruce Wayne.
Here is a pinup of Batman, the animated series. I was such a huge fan of the show when I was a kid that I had to go out and grab the action figures by Kenner. Here is the combat belt Batman. Here is Robin. And here is the Penguin. Here is the retro Batman action figure from Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Another reason why 2019 was such an awesome year was that Todd McFarlane finally got the license from DC Comics to create and produce the DC Multi-Universe toy line. And of course, when the inaugural wave was introduced with the Batman the Animated Series figure, I immediately jumped on it. I also picked up Superman from Superman the Animated Series. And since I am a fan of Jason Fabok and his work on 2020's Batman 3 Jokers, I had to get this action figure as well. Batman has had a tremendous impact on my nearly 40 years of life. So let's break out the past 4 decades. November 1982 was the month and year that I was born, and Batman issue number 353 was the issue that came out on that month and year. It was written by Jerry Conway, who co-created Jason Todd and Marvel's The Punisher, and it was illustrated by Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. I am extremely pleased with this cover because let's have a look at the October cover, 1982. Ugly. What about the December cover, 1982? Also ugly. So I absolutely lucked out, especially because Joker is also on the cover. And if you recall from vlog number 2, I shared that Jose Luis Garcia Lopez is my favorite DC Comics artist from the 1980s. His style guide illustrations for DC Comics in 1982 were very iconic, and they still are. Also, in 1982, The Incredible Hulk animated series premiered, but only went for 13 episodes before their plug got pulled. In the prior year, 1981, DC and Marvel had a crossover between Batman and the Hulk, and it was magnificent. It was written by Len Wein, and during this era, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez was at his best. Spoiler alert, the Green Goliath couldn't stand a chance against the Dark Knight. The Hulk was knocked out cold, and Batman won. Fair and square. Here is my special collector's reprint from 1995. And here's a fun fact. Lou Ferrigno and I were born on the same day, only 31 years apart. He played the Hulk on the Incredible Hulk television series that ran for 5 seasons from 1977 until 1982. Jose Luis Garcia Lopez's style guide was often used as a reference to market much of DC's merchandising, one of which was 1984's Superpowers toy line. And this year, in 2022, Todd McFarlane released his version of the Superpowers toy line. Notice how the Superman action figure still showcases Jose Luis Garcia Lopez's artwork and the retro-style Superman logo on the card. However, the Batman action figure showcases Jim Lee's artwork and the 2002 Batman logo. And so, as great as Todd McFarlane is, and as much as I love Jim Lee on Batman, my time was back in the 1980s. So in this case, the old school is better than the new school. At the beginning of vlog number 2, I went over Todd McFarlane's iconic 1988 covers such as The Incredible Hulk issue number 340 and the Amazing Spider-Man covers leading up to Venom's debut in issue number 300. Those covers were for Marvel Comics. I purposely left out his most iconic 1988 cover for DC Comics because I wanted to save it for this episode. And that iconic cover that Todd McFarlane illustrated for DC Comics in 1988 was no doubt the cover of Batman issue number 423. This here is a first printing. How do I know? Well, I can open up the book and check out the indicia inside to find out, or I can just look at the bottom left-hand corner right over here, and if Batman's silhouette is seen, then it is a first printing. Now, if Batman's silhouette is not seen in the bottom left-hand corner here, and instead it reads DC Comics aren't just for kids, this book is either a second printing or a third printing. in which case you would have to open up the book and check out the edition inside to find out for certain. I also have a Toys R Us 3-piece which packages Batman issues number 423, 424, and 425. Now, if we refer to the bottom left-hand corner here, it reads DC Comics aren't just for kids, which means that this book is either a second printing or a third printing. This 3-piece is still in its original shrink wrap, so the only way to find out is for me to break it open, which I am not going to do. My Toys R Us 3-piece is definitely fun to have. However, my most prized Batman 423 is my CGC Signature Series, grade of 9.6. If only it was a 9.8. But I'm still very happy though. It's double signed by writer Jim Starlin and cover artist Todd McFarlane. I want to refer back to the first printing of this book. I want you to notice that there is a miscoloring on the cover. Check out the moon right over in this corner here. It's supposed to be yellow, but it's not. It's the same color as this orange background. So there's an error on the first printing. And if you look at the second printing, same error. It's supposed to be yellow right over here. I have a pinup of Batman issue number 423, and although the moon isn't yellow, it's white, the miscoloring is corrected. And I'm really glad that I have this pinup. And if you compare this 1988 pinup to this 1992 pinup, they share similar themes. And I like that. I also have some Batman 423 homage covers. This is The Batman Who Laughs, The Grim Knight, issue number 1, variant cover by Philip Tan. It also comes with a certificate of authenticity. This here is Batman Black and White, volume number 3, variant cover by Miko Suoyan. And I have 3 copies of I Am Batman, variant cover by Tyler Kirkham. The second cover is a minimal trade variant. And the third cover is a blank sketch cover. I like how they kept that Batman silhouette at the bottom left hand corner there as an homage to Todd McFarlane. Keeping it old school. Earlier this year, Batman issue number 423 was also reprinted. Here is the color Virgin variant. Here is the black and white trade variant. And here is the black and white Virgin variant. In 2020, DC Comics released the 100th statue in their Batman Black and White line, which was based off of Batman issue number 423, honoring Todd McFarlane. Also, there was an action figure made, which was based off of 1987's Batman Year 2, illustrated by Todd McFarlane. Todd McFarlane and his wildly exaggerated capes. Gotta love it. The Funko Pop hasn't released yet. However, it is scheduled to come out this November, 2 months from now. Here I am cosplaying the Batman Unmasked Funko Pop figure. It's a splitting image, wouldn't you say? I love Todd McFarlane's early work on Batman and on Spider-Man. By the way, Spider-Man turned 60 years old this year. Happy birthday, Spidey! Here is the only time where you would ever find Batman and Spider-Man sharing a cover together by Todd McFarlane. This is Comic Scene Spectacular issue number 2, July 1990. Back in high school, I used to debate on who would win in a fight, Batman or Spider-Man. Obviously, I'm a Batman guy, so I would always take up for the Dark Knight. The debates used to go back and forth, back and forth. One day, the debate was finally settled. On page 28 of the August 2003 issue, number 143 of Wizard magazine, in their Last Man Standing section, it was confirmed that in a fight, Batman would defeat Spider-Man. And boy was I happy. I was so smug that I went out and bought a second copy, removed pages 28 and 29, and had it framed. Speaking of Batman and Spider-Man crossovers, here is my Spider-Man and Batman from 1995. Batman and Spider-Man, 1997. And also in 1997, Daredevil, Batman. In 1992, I turned 10. And of course, Batman Returns came out in theaters that year. followed by Batman the Animated Series making its television debut. Also in 1992, Image Comics is founded, and Todd McFarlane presents Spawn issue number 1. In 2012 and 2013, Todd McFarlane illustrates a host of homage covers. I have 2 covers where he swipes himself. Here is a Batman 423 swipe, and here is a Spider-Man issue number 1 swipe. I will put the Spawn books aside for a future Spawn episode, so they will not be accounted into Vu's vault value at the end of this episode. 2 years later, in 1994, The Dark Knight Returns writer Frank Miller and illustrator Todd McFarlane collaborated to put out the very first Spawn Batman crossover. A terrific homage cover to The Dark Knight Returns issue number 1. Cape figures jumping through the open sky with a streak of blue lightning lighting up the dark background. The second crossover was Batman Spawn War Devil, that was also published that year. Fast forward 12 years later to 2006. Todd McFarlane announced a third crossover, Spawn Batman Inner Demons, where Greg Capullo would pencil and Todd McFarlane would ink. Unfortunately, aside from this amazing promotional cover, the project was abandoned and it never took off. To the surprise and delight of fans who attended the 2022 San Diego International Comic-Con in July, during the Jim Lee panel, Todd McFarlane announced that him and Greg Capullo were getting the band back together to finally return to the third Batman Spawn crossover project that was abandoned back in 2006, and it will finally debut this December.
That's who I want to be when I grow up. And that was Todd McFarlane. And he was super kind to befriend me then, and that ultimately led to a couple other weird, crazy projects, which we'll talk about in a second. But anyway, Todd, come on up. And then we have his brother from oh no, I'm coming in. Okay, you know, I'm going to take a bathroom break because I know how Todd is. He's just going to talk.
What they should be asking themselves right now is why is Todd McFarlane at a DC panel? Right? It's a curious thing.
Good question.
So, I'm going to explain it to everybody in 5 words. And at the end of that 5th word, you're going to get it. Here we go. 5 words. Batman, Spawn, Capullo, McFarlane, December. Single biggest comic book event of 2022, and it has the chance to be the biggest selling comic book of this entire century. Batman, Spawn, Capullo, McFarlane, December, it's coming! Write it down now, we're breaking news right now!
At Comic-Con, Todd McFarlane also met up with fellow Image Comics co-founder Mark Silvestri. And since Mark Silvestri is the creator of The Darkness, I have a copy of The Darkness Batman crossover from 1999 as well. And Mark Silvestri is set to debut his Batman, the Joker, The Deadly Duel, issue number 1 this November. In 2002, I turned 20, and this was a very big year for Batman. Due to our friendly bet, Jim Lee returned to a regular schedule of drawing comics with his 12-issue run of Batman Hush, alongside writer Jeff Loeb, inker Scott Williams, and colorist Alex Sinclair. He knocked it out of the park and changed the landscape for Batman and DC Comics forever. Since X-Men Volume 2, issue number 1 was so successful and still has the biggest sales record of all time, many thought that Jim Lee had already peaked in his career and could not make lightning strike twice. However, Jim Lee's work on Batman for the past 20 years has only raised him to greater heights. And take a look at the November 2002 cover of Wizard Magazine, issue number 134. It's a Batman and Joker cover by Jim Lee. And you know I like that. Jeez, I can't believe it's already been 20 years. Here is Jim Lee's earliest known work on Batman back in 1988 when Jason Todd was killed off in A Death in the Family. And here is his Batman in 2001, right before he did Batman Hush. His style sure evolved and has come a long way since 1988. In 2012, I turned 30, and The Dark Knight Rises came out in theaters, closing out Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. Here I am on opening night, dressed up as an Arkham Asylum inmate. The second installment in the trilogy, The Dark Knight, was clearly the best movie, and I got to meet Eric Roberts, who played Salvatore Maroni.
It's simple. We kill the Batman.
If it's so simple, why haven't you done it already?
If you're good at something, never do it for free.
Speaking of trilogies, Batman director Chris Nolan, Batman actor Chris Bale, and Batman fan Chris Vu. Greatest Batman trilogy of all time. And as mentioned earlier, this year in 2022, I will be turning 40 years old. 65 days away from today to be exact. And earlier this year in March, Matt Reeves' The Batman came out. And here is another example of how the old school beats the new school. Kids today get this.
I'm vengeance.
Whereas kids in my day got this.
I'm Batman.
And this.
I'm Batman.
Don't fix what ain't broke. The Batman was okay. However, I was delighted that the soundtrack featured Something in the Way from Nirvana's Nevermind album, which came out in 1991. The Flash was originally supposed to be released this November 4th, 2022. However, it's now been pushed back to June 23rd, 2023, which will land on the 34th anniversary of Tim Burton's Batman. I was 6 years old during that summer when Batman came out on June 23rd, 1989. And so fans of my generation are beyond thrilled that Michael Keaton is going to reprise his role as the Caped Crusader in The Flash. Also, the best Batmobile of all time was from 1989, and it looks like we will be seeing it in The Flash as well. Oh! Here I am at the Warner Brothers studio tour, posing with the 1989 Batmobile. I have also had the privilege of sitting in Adam West's Batmobile from 1966. Michael Keaton celebrates his 71st birthday today. Happy birthday, Michael! It also doesn't hurt that Batfleck will also make an appearance as well. Would it be to anyone's surprise if they were to somehow sneak in Christian Bale? I mean, they did do it for the Spider-Man. Michael Keaton was also set to appear as Batman next year in Batgirl starring Leslie Grace as Barbara Gordon. Unfortunately, Warner Brothers has decided to scrap the $90 million production and cut their losses. Man, what a bummer. I was eager to see Batgirl's costume that was designed by Babs Tarr in 2014 in action. Speaking of Batgirl, here is my other Batman watch. This is my 2019 Rolex BL&R GMT Master 2. I have the box and papers as well. So here's the backstory with this watch. Remember how I said 2019 was a really good year for me? Good afternoon, everyone. It's March 17th, 2021. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm about to leave the house right now, and as you can see, I've made sure to protect myself because I am now officially pinch-proof. There are three main reasons why I love the color green. Number one, we live on God's beautiful green earth. Number two, the Boston Celtics. And the third reason, I'll let you know in a second. Since we are celebrating the luck of the Irish today, I wanted to ask you, in 2019, did you all see that film, The Irishman, featuring Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, and Al Pacino, directed by Martin Scorsese? Well, on the cover of their December 2019 issue, GQ magazine featured both Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. But that's not the reason why I am sharing this with you. I'm going to turn to page 113, and since this was their year-ender issue, GQ magazine featured their watch of the year, the Rolex GMT Master 2, also known as the Batman. And so the third reason why I love the color green is because of Rolex. In 2021, I purchased the 2019 model of the GMT Master 2. And here is the guarantee card, and as you can see, it was originally purchased on November 23rd of 2019. I'm gonna set this phone down here, take off my jacket because Batman doesn't wear green, and I will go ahead and put this watch on for you guys to see. I'm a watch collector. I like to purchase a new timepiece every year to commemorate a milestone. And the reason why it was so important for me to purchase this watch in 2021 is because Batman was created in 1939. I was born in 1982. In the year 2021, I turned 39 and Batman turns 82. We have Mackenzie. She's been terrific. She's helping me out. There we go. Very beautiful nails. Oh my goodness. It's gorgeous. It's perfect. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. When Jim Lee was promoting DC Fandom 2021, he was seen wearing a Rolex GMT Master as well. However, instead of the Batman, he was sporting the Rolex Pepsi. Fun fact, the Rolex GMT Master 2 was first released in 1982, the year that I was born. Someone's favorite number is 9, and in 2019, Quentin Tarantino released his 9th film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, starring Bruce Lee. Yep, 2019 was a great year indeed. And Brad Pitt won his first Oscar as Best Supporting Actor for playing Cliff Booth. This year, these two heavyweights met up for the Heat reunion at the Tribeca Festival in June. Heat 2, a novel written by Heat director Michael Mann with Meg Gardiner, landed on bookshelves this past August. And this year also marks the 50th anniversary of The Godfather. And yes, I did watch all 10 episodes of The Offer. Speaking of mob movie stars, it's unfortunate that we lost Ray Liotta in May, and in July, we lost James Caan, Tony Sirico, and Paul Sorvino. Not to mention some of sports' finest icons as well. Legendary Los Angeles Dodgers broadcaster Vin Scully passed away, and we also lost 11-time NBA champion with the Boston Celtics, Bill Russell. Speaking of green rings, the Boston Celtics were so close to winning their 18th title this year. Alright, so finally here is the backstory of why I was Fu Manchu back in 2014. Batman was celebrating his 75th anniversary that year. I had just turned 31, and I was also carrying a little bit of extra weight. Socrates said, "It is a shame for a man to grow old without seeing the beauty and strength of which his body is capable." And my favorite meme says, "Always be yourself. Unless you can be Batman, then always be Batman." On January 1st, 2014, I shaved off all the hair on my head and my face and let it all grow out for 365 days straight while cutting weight. So that's why I look like this when I first met Neil Adams. I decided to be Batman instead of Fat Man. And after dropping over 30 pounds, on New Year's Day 2015, I took an electric razor to my face while playing Pink Floyd's Time in the background. I kicked off my early 30s by writing a love letter to Batman and to health and fitness. Now that I'm exiting my 30s, I'm writing another love letter to my childhood, appreciating comic books and sharing it with you guys. I'm very blessed to have the time and opportunity right now at this very moment to do what I do, and I'm having a blast. Father Time is undefeated. However, I'm still going to run that race against time to get in all that I can get while I still can. The next time we meet will be in vlog number 5, which will be a big Marvel episode. Silver Surfer, The Avengers, Fantastic Four. I will no longer be in my 30s. I will be gray like Reed Richards. Alright, let's jump into the long boxes. Check out my Batman run. Wow, those were a lot of comics. Vu's vault value got really bulky in this episode. We'll see you back here next time. Same bat channel.